AEW is already destroying WWE in 2026 with the class action lawsuit that's being filed against WWE, and how much better Dynamite was this past Wednesday than Raw was. Let's get into that. WWE is facing a lawsuit. A class action lawsuit filed Thursday, so yesterday, accuses WWE and ESPN of deceptive marketing practices with the move of PLEs to ESPN's direct consumer streaming service. Now, before I read further, immediately when I read that first chunk, I was like, yeah, I understand. My friend and I were both very confused when the move first happened. Like, do we need to also buy the PLEs on top of now getting ESPN Plus or whatever their service is called? It was confusing as hell. I've been over this before, how damn confusing it is to watch WWE since last year, and now going into 2026, you need so many streaming apps and services and cable and all of this just to watch their content, and I think it's a fucking mess. It goes on to say the complaint takes issue with how some fans who already get ESPN channels through cable or other providers were still required to pay an additional monthly fee to watch WWE events. The plaintiffs allege this contradicts marketing communications from both WWE and ESPN, which they claim suggested all existing ESPN subscribers would have access to PLEs. That's from Post Wrestling. It's all over. Sports Illustrated has coverage on it as well. Just do a quick Google search and you'll find many people talking about this, including me on this video. It's a fucking mess. And this is... we're not even a month into 2026, and WWE is already facing yet another lawsuit. And there's more reasons why I feel like AEW is destroying WWE very early on in 2026. Going back to Raw, and already covered it. Look at this post up here. Now, this isn't from me, but I saw this and it really made me laugh. WWE did a 6-month Kevin Owens storyline about him using the banned pile driver and being suspended for it. Meanwhile, CM Punk does it in a match like a regular move, which, by the way, was awful. He can't hit a pile driver to save his life. He's putting Raw ratings early 2026 into a Pepsi plunge, if you get what I'm saying there. Little CM Punk dig there. That main event was just abysmal. So many botches going back to Raw, and that was the only good thing that happened on that Raw. So much wasted time with the Stranger Things and all of that stuff. Every single match besides this one was boring and forgettable. This was the only one that was memorable because of the botches, honestly. That's what made it memorable, was seeing both of them almost get seriously injured. Honestly, he could have probably injured Braun Breaker here as well. Punk is out of shape. He's too old to be hitting a move like that. It was a big mistake to even put that in the match. Another reason why I think that AEW is just miles ahead of WWE in 2026 already. And this has been pretty much going on for multiple years, but I just wanted to bring it up because it's still happening. Here's a then and now photo, the Attitude Era. If everyone that is watching my channel, I should say, if any of you that's watching my channel lived through the Attitude Era as a pro wrestling fan like I did early on in my life, going into the Ruthless Aggression era and so forth, you remember how the shows began. They kicked off with great rock music for Raw. We all know the great intro songs that they had back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm sure there'll be a debate down below in the comments on which intro was the best. But yeah, they began with great intro songs, pyros everywhere, crowd going nuts, JR kicking off with his commentary. It was perfect. It was peak WWE at this point because they have never reached that level since. Maybe in terms of money, but that's not everything, and that's not everything when it comes to the consumer. They don't give two shits. I don't give two shits about how much money you're making. I care more about the product, and the product is ass. Now, in 2025 and also 2026, and honestly this started in like 24, wrestlers walking in backstage carrying a cup of coffee or pushing a suitcase with Mr. Roboto Tessitore talking. It's true. He's got a very robotic, boring, bland voice. Camera switches to inside the arena and every fan is sitting quietly. This happens pretty much weekly on Raw. I think it's corny as hell. They at least made it a little bit better. Early on in my channel's history, I complained about how awful this looked to start off Raw, because people would be walking in the most random fucking places, like through a fucking boiler room, past like a stack of pallets, and they'd like, you know, it felt like the video games from like SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 did it a lot, where the little like, you know, backstage segments in the career mode or whatever, you would see like fucking Rey Mysterio over here, Mark Henry 10 feet away from him, and they're in like a fucking parking lot doing some random shit. That was literally what it was. It was really bad. Again, another reason why I feel like AEW is better than WWE in 2026 and already beating them is how out of touch WWE is. They're more out of touch than Holland. Actually pretty catchy. Much better than Raw. I'd listen to that song for 2 hours, then sit through an episode of Raw again. Anyways, going back to this point, WWE executive Bruce, we all know him, said WWE limits PLEs to 4 to 5 matches because longer cards, 10 matches or so, cause viewers to forget earlier moments, usually remembering only the main event, which is why WWE follows a less is more approach for its PLEs. I think that is so unbelievably out of touch. I'm sure there are going to be some fans that agree with this, but I really don't understand how. Are they just openly admit that the attention spans of the average WWE viewer is that of like a fucking first grader? That 30 minutes after a match they're going to forget what happened? Probably, because they all fucking suck, those matches, most of them. All of 2025 PLEs stunk. They were bad. I think this is absolutely ridiculous, and this is another reason in this video why I feel like AEW is already destroying WWE. And then going on to SmackDown, that actually happened earlier today, we saw a 3 stages of hell, more like 3 stages of smell, because that shit stunk. I mean, the first match was literally a 3, maybe 4 minute singles match. Why are you putting a singles match in a 3 stages of hell match? There's supposed to be stages of hell. A singles match is not that. It happens weekly with every other match. And it was short. And then correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comments, but I thought that they announced that they were supposed to have an old school style cage for the final stage of this match. They didn't have that. It was just a basic ass, short 10-foot steel cage that they have. And I have complained plenty on this channel about how much I hate how WWE runs steel cage matches. I think it's a fucking joke. The only other thing that happened of note was that we saw Trick Williams come out and interrupt yet another person. I believe it was a returning Randy Orton. I did like that. Hopefully they don't drop the ball on Trick Williams. SmackDown, I'm not going to cover too much more on it. So far is better than Raw in 2026, but that's not saying much because Raw was really bad. Their first show of 2026. And although I'm enjoying SmackDown more lately, it's an extremely low bar because SmackDown in 2025, like I've said on my channel, was probably the worst pro wrestling product that was on weekly cable. Now going on to AEW, the reasons why I feel like they are winning in 2026 already. I'm going to talk more AEW related things. Tony Khan actually knows how to bring a new era in. Take notes, Triple H. I mean, look at this up here. That's the card that we got for Dynamite. Definitely a new era. I mean, the main event lights out match. You had Hook, who is very young and is now, towards the main event scene with the Ops. Shelton Benjamin and Moxley. Moxley is face again. He's already putting on great matches, defending his Continental Championship. MJF appeared. Bandito, Sammy Guevara, which I'll get to Bandito in a second. That was a really good match, though. Having Guevara back was great to see. Tony Storm and Shafir had a great match. We saw Jack Perry, Jet Speed got taken out, and yet again, a new change in AEW. We saw the Young Bucks replace them and help out Jack Perry, and they brought back their old music, and I love it. Against the Demand, Willow Nightingale had a live celebration. Jim Ross came back. You saw Andrade return. You saw Jake something, who is now going by Jake Doyle, which I believe is his real name. He debuted just out of nowhere in a backstage promo segment with the Don Callis family. That is bringing in a new era to start 2026, Triple H. That is new era worthy, not the bullshit that you guys have been pulling, the stuff that Adam Pearce said on socials right before Raw this past Monday that had everybody, including me, thinking that we were going to get Chris Jericho. He was not there, and it was a shit-ass Raw. You saw a new stage. Here's a little snippet of it. I thought it looked beautiful. All of those things prove that Tony Khan actually knows how to give its fans a new era, new stage, new people featured in, bigger feuds and stuff. Hook, for example. They're pushing Bandito. Bandito had a hilarious segment with MJF ahead of their match against each other at Maximum Carnage next week. He said, after MJF brought out a translator, towards the end of the promo, he said that he can speak English, you dumbass, or whatever he said to MJF. It was fucking funny. It really made me laugh. All of those are reasons why I firmly believe that AEW is absolutely destroying WWE already in 2026. Lastly, I just want to talk about one quick thing up here. It looks like AEW filed for a new name, Exile on Pain Street. We'll see where this goes. Maybe it's going to be a special episode of Dynamite or Collision. I'm going to be honest, I'm not huge on the name, but again, I can't quite judge it quite yet because there's really not much to run off of other than the title Exile on Pain Street. Let me know down below your thoughts on that. That's all I had on this late night episode of Screw the Script this Friday night. Some of you might already be watching this and it's already Saturday, depending on where you live, your time zone, the country that you live in. Let me know down below your thoughts on everything, all the points that I brought up, and why I truly believe that AEW is already winning in 2026. As always, this has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.